Hey y'all, and welcome back to the party. It's your girl BrittReacts, and today we are reacting to George Carlin on the Chris Rock show. Let's see what they have to say. I would just like to go on the record and say I was today years old when I found out that Chris Rock had a show. Like a sit down, this looks like a talk show. Variety show of some sort? I don't know. Today years old, right here today. I turned today years old and found this out. Let's go.
My next guest has been doing comedy
What's a
for
talk
over
show?
40 years. He's done 10 HBO specials. He has a best-selling book called Brain Droppings. Please welcome George
Brain
Carlin.
dropping. I would also like to go on the record and say, one, Chris Rock has not aged. If you put a clip of this show right here next to a clip of Chris Rock today, not aged. What are we drinking, Chris? Where is it? I need it. Hey, ship the water to me expeditiously. Secondly, if I ever had to think of a title for a George Carlin book, Brain Droppings would be that title. It's the perfect title for a book by George. Honestly, phenomenal.
I did two more while I was back there.
Okay. George Carlin. Okay. George Carlin, you are by far, you're easily one of the greatest comedians ever to live.
Right.
Easily.
Okay, I'm gonna go with that.
I'm going to go with that.
Okay, yeah.
You know, people take you for granted in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, now, because like you and a guy like, say, Cosby, because you've always been doing it forever. And like, do you feel that, say, like if you had some crazy tragedy in your life, people wouldn't take you for granted? Because, like, you know, Pryor burnt up.
Yeah.
What a way to put that. Pryor burnt up. I actually don't know how Richard Pryor passed, so let's Google this. One can assume, because he said Pryor, right? There's only one Pryor in comedy, right? Richard Pryor. Oh, it popped up immediately. Death. What is the cause? He had a third heart attack after his wife failed attempts to resuscitate him. He was taken to a local hospital. Oh, well, it says he has a heart attack. Also, his wife failed to try to resuscitate him? Oh, after his wife's failed attempts. I thought it said failed to attempt. I'm like, wow. What does he mean burnt up then? Chris, what are you talking about? Y'all let me know in the comments.
Take you for granted, because, like, you know, Pryor burnt up.
Yeah.
Lenny Bruce died, Kennison died, and you're, like, right here chilling.
The penalty of living.
The penalty of living.
Yeah. Well, you know what happens? A lot of people say, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I love that stuff. 1972, I saw you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, last 25 years."
He looks great.
I bring him right up. I say, "You watch HBO? Did you get the book? Do that, and then we'll talk some more in the airport." You know.
He's not 72 here.
You do want people to know the accumulated record. You know, not just a spotty little this and that.
Yeah, because people are like, Carlin. Yeah.
Yeah. It depends. So there's other people that are hooked in good,
right.
You know, hooked in real strong, and then they'll tell you back what you did, and you say, "Oh, I don't remember that." Well, you did it, and I saw it.
Okay, now one of your biggest things ever was the 7 words you can never say on television. It was piss, shit.
You want the right order?
What was the order?
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
Is this syndicated on television? Was this show syndicated? One can assume. Maybe not. I don't know. Also, he said, Carlin, you're 72. There's no way this man sitting here is 72 years old. Can't be. No way he's 72 right here. No, right? No. I give him like 50s, early 60s. I don't know. Either way, he looks great.
Said fuck twice. I know. Motherfucker shouldn't count because it's a derivative of fuck, but I put it in anyway.
Yeah. Because when you put mother and fucker together, it's just...
It's a better word.
Yeah,
It's a better word.
nothing's faster than a motherfucker.
That's right.
Nothing jumps higher, nothing stronger. Now, you know, it's weird. Now you can say tits now a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
See, that's just it.
A little bit.
And the interesting thing was you couldn't say tits, but you could say bazooms, you could go like this, you could say knockers, you could say knobs, but tits, and it's a cute word.
You can say
it's a cute.
Because tits are cute.
It sounds like a
But they won't let you say titty.
No.
I feel like that is like the how he just said, I feel like he said titty is like how we know Chris Rock. Like that is like that's the indication that Chris Rock is in the room. It's also interesting to just see now how much that has changed and the things that you can say on TV. It's mind blowing, especially because I grew up in the era of like, you couldn't say those things on TV. You could barely say, I don't even think you could say ass on TV. Yeah. Wow.
They're cute.
It sounds like a
But they won't let you say titty.
No. It's
Titty.
straight. You know why? You know why I have all that inconsistent stuff? Because it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit to start with. You know, they can talk about fucking. You can talk about fucking. You can say, you know, you're gonna, and everybody goes, I know what he's talking about. Or in the newspaper, they can say F ...
Right.
Well, everybody knows what it means, so the thought has been conveyed, and that's all language is. And you know, I don't say fuck. It's a family newspaper. How do you think the family got started? Fucking. That's what it is.
You know what's wild? Now, you did the seven words you can't say. Is there anything you can't say now?
I don't know.
That gets people.
I got what I like to do. I like to bother people. I like to find out where the line is, sort of sense where the line is drawn, and then deliberately cross it, and drag the audience with you, and have them happy that you did it. That's the key.
Is that the formula?
Say that was good. So. I'm doing my next HBO a year from December, about 13 months from now, and I'm just working on things because there's one taboo in this country, I think, religion, and I really am all out attacking religion every chance
I love to hear his like thought process on the process of the show, and like how he like what he just said is like that's his process. He loves to get the audience, drag them down with him, and then at the end they're like, oh, we love that, And now I think he's about to talk about how he just said he outright is attacking religion. Just to hear him speak of the process and his, what he thinks about when he is coming up with his material.
There's one taboo in this country, I think, religion, and I really am all out attacking religion every chance I get because I just don't believe in that stuff. I think it's the worst thing that ever happened to mankind, and I get after them all the time. But that's not the only thing. Kids in this country, there's too much attention to children in this country. Every time you turn around, it's kids, and they're hiding behind kids because all they're trying to do is censor you again and take your drugs away in the name of their kids. In the name of the kids. They're trying to roll back the 60s, man. So I get after them, and I like to get in there and just bother them a little bit. There's got to be some thought with it. It's not just shock them and do that. You have to have some thought and some ideas underneath it. But
I think he, was obviously. Maybe he was 100% dead serious, but I do think there was some comedy in there. I do, though, think, a lot of people argue, especially like when they talk about artists and them being role models and, the things that are put out. I do think, as a parent, I think that more of the responsibility on what a child is receiving and how a child is being exposed should be looked more at in the household, you know what I mean? And in the school place, and not so much on the newspaper stand. And my child has never walked past a magazine stand and stopped and looked at it. Not once, not ever. Not ever. Will she in life? Probably, but not right now. She's in the 2nd grade. You know what I mean? She doesn't watch the news. She doesn't watch any TV programming that is not age appropriate or that we haven't already like skimmed through. And so I do think in some aspects we censor a lot of like adult things. These are things that are meant for adults in the name of kids, but it's like kids shouldn't even be anywhere around that. And I think a lot of celebrities began to verbalize that. Like, I'm not here to be I'm not trying to be a mentor. I'm not trying to, and then obviously, right, it's like, well, but you are. And it's like, there is a responsibility with that. But I think a lot of them fight back and they're like, but I'm not making music to uplift 8-year-olds. Your 8-year-old shouldn't be listening to my music, right? It's like, that's the argument where it's just like George Carlin isn't making material for children. So I get that argument. I think a lot of it falls on people who it shouldn't fall on, and it really should be on the parents who, sometimes fall short in their household and aren't looking at what their children are doing or monitoring things. And so I think what he said and how he said was kind of like, oh, It's a little harsh, but if you think about it, the things that y'all are trying to stop and censor are because of children, and children shouldn't be anywhere near it. Near it, you know? Like at my aunt and uncle's house growing up, they didn't watch anything that they wanted to watch outside of sports if we were awake and around the house. Like they would watch their movies and their stuff when we went to bed. And we knew that. There was always like appropriate television and or sports, football, basketball kind of thing, you know? I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but I agree with George. And I think the way he said it was, again, a little like curt, but correct.
Some thought with it. It's not just shock them and do that. You have to have some thought and some ideas underneath it, but then just to make them go like this a little bit in their chairs. That's what I like. Oh, yeah. That's important to me.
It might not be you. It might be a loose disc.
Yes, that's right. Well, I'll loosen it up a little more.
You know what's bugged out? You came up 50s, 60s doing this edgy stuff, and I was like, did you feel alone at the time? Because I'm like, I remember like the old Dean Martin roast and like your crew, like your contemporaries are guys like Alan King and you know, other guys doing like "Take My Wife Please" jokes and stuff.
Right. Yeah, the old line stand-ups. Yeah. Well, I came out of coffee houses though. I got lucky. I came out of coffee houses? And folk groups.
Alan King's cool before you know he shoots you or something. But
I came out of places where irreverence was a part of the deal. Coffee houses and folk rooms, you know, the whole idea there was to be a little bit anti-establishment, to be a little bit against the stream, you know. So I came out of that and always felt comfortable being alone. Always felt good as a kid. Loved it when my mother didn't come home on time. So I'd say, oh, this is nice, man. I'll make some...
Love it when my mother didn't come home on time. He strikes me as the type to stand alone and be so fine with that. He absolutely strikes me as the type. Everyone should strive to be a little bit like that. To just stand alone. Be able to stand alone.
Always felt good as a kid. Loved it when my mother didn't come home on time. Boy, I'd say, oh, this is nice, man. I'll make some spaghetti and listen to the Lone Ranger, you know? To be alone is good. And I never really took part in show business. I'd show up. I didn't really contribute, you know, like they'd put me in the bunny number. You had to do the variety shows and they get you in the bunny number at the end. I had to do a little of that, but once I turned the corner, I left.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, when you were around like bad comedy.
Yeah.
Not even bad comedy, just that other shit.
Yeah. That big lane thing.
There's this thing you do, and then there's that other shit.
That's right. And I lived through, listen, the hardest years of my life were the 3 or 4 years when I was doing straight mainstream bullshit television shows because I thought I wanted to be like a Danny Kaye or something. My dream from a kid was still like that. I wanted to be in the movies and go like this for people. And I didn't know that my head...
Like this?
I didn't know my head was different. I didn't understand that. I thought if I thought about it at 9 years of age, it must still be valid when I'm 21. But it wasn't. And I
wow, that's a good point. Wow. He, even in his just regular conversation, he'll make you think. That is a really good point. Like, you think at 9 years old, like, the things you want at 9, how those things actually transfer over into your adult life. I never thought about that. Never thought about that. Like, I mean, every 2 weeks, my daughter wants to be something new. Sometimes they are, I mean, super valid, super obtainable. And other times I'm like, you want to be a what? Like, and it's, she can do whatever she wants, but sometimes you're just like, I don't know how that will, you know, you like, he's saying this. I'm like, yeah, how will that transfer like as a 21-year-old? So that's really deep when he says that. Like, he thought at 9 he wanted to be this type of comedian because that's what he saw. And it was funny to him at 9, but he didn't know what his mind was going to develop into. That's really deep, you guys. I also think, you know, that speaks to just being able to humble yourself and play your role to get where you want to get. And like he said, for 3 or 4 years, he played these awful roles, or he would show up, but he wouldn't be a part of. And that's another thing. Like, you can show up to something and do what you're supposed to do without immersing yourself in everything else around it. That's a real thing, especially in the industry. It's like somehow some entertainers fall victim to, you know, Hollywood and the things that come with Hollywood, and others just show up, come to work, do their thing, and go home and mind their business. You never see them on a magazine. You never see them in the news. You never see controversy and scandal because they know what they're supposed to do. That's their job, and they are able to separate it from their lives. And others get so enthralled in everything good and bad that they end up like just completely lost. And so I think these are such great great points he's bringing up.
If I thought about it at 9 years of age, it must still be valid when I'm 21, but it wasn't. And I finally, boom, that clicked in from the acid. Thank God for acid.
All that hard work stuff is bullshit.
Well, it don't hurt.
Acid. Somebody give me some acid right now. You know, I got people around here to get me shit, but no one ever gets me acid.
If you're, but I'll tell you this. That's why they put it on that list of bad drugs, because they know it opens up the mind. It can be dangerous. I ain't saying it's not dangerous in some way. You take too much, take the wrong kind, get it.
Where do you get your acid from?
I don't. That's what's nice.
Because I want the good stuff.
I don't need it anymore because it's a self-limiting drug. It's the kind of drug that you take it a few times and it tells you that's enough. We're cool. Now we're happening, and that's what happened to me.
As opposed to
Shit like this and shit like that.
like this.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you shoot up directly in the neck to get it.
Yikes. And see, again, like he said, like they try to stop you from doing these things. And I'm not advocating for drug use in any way, shape, or form, but this is adult content. This is an adult conversation. This is an adult man who made his adult decisions. Your children should not be privy to that. I do think that's funny that he's like, no, thanks to that, it opened me up. And, you know, I have no experience with that, so I wouldn't know. But I mean, if that's his truth, that's his truth.
Like this and shit like that. And
like this?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you shoot up directly in the neck to get it to your head quicker.
Oh, so you
Yikes.
Yeah.
in the neck?
Well, the temple would be quick, wouldn't it? Right in the temple. No waiting, no delay. I never did shoot up, so I'm just talking shit.
Oh, yeah.
I never did. No, I grew up in a neighborhood with plenty of smack in the 50s and never got to the smack. The grass was enough. Boy, I'd get some of that grass and a couple of beers and just lay back and wonder why those guys were puking. You know? That's all I needed. No, never.
I love his honesty. I love how forthcoming he is with his journey and the things that he's done. And he's just like, you're not going to make me feel bad about living my life. I love that type of human being.
Lay back and wonder why those guys were puking. You know? That's all I needed. No, never did shoot up. Never did use it.
Now, what's the worst thing that happened to you? What's it like just opening up? What you know? I never heard the George Carlin horror stories.
Well, I did an awful lot of cocaine during the 70s. When I did that stuff, I
Really?
did tons of it. Yeah, tons. Yeah, well, you knew that shit. And I just would get out there, and my jaw wouldn't work, you know? You know how locked up?
Yeah, I know crackheads whose jaws don't work.
You're like that, man. And you know what you're thinking is good. Fortunately, they liked me, and they would wait, you know, for my mouth to start
That
working.
is so
but
crazy.
I don't have any of those. I'm not one of those guys that has a story. You know, like every comedian, like these old guys, especially you meet, and they say, you mention a name, and I say, oh, let me tell you about Al Jolson, and they got a story for everything. I got no stories because I don't remember a goddamn thing, man. I don't remember nothing.
Thank you very much.
Sure,
man.
my pleasure. Thank you, man.
That was so good. That was so enjoyable. Even in his like conversation, he's funny. Like he just keeps it so real, and I think there's such a lack of that now, or even then, I guess, that like hearing someone just be so candid, it was funny. You're like, ah, and he's like, I'm so serious. That was such an enjoyable interview. Good job. That was great. I did not know Chris Rock had a show. Wow. All right. I enjoyed that. Let me know if you have any other suggestions, maybe from the Chris Rock show or George Carlin interviews. I don't know. He's so great. Golly. I mean, even in him just talking that interview, he does what he does. He did what he always does. And he had me stopping and thinking like, wow, I just had a revelation. All right, guys. Go have the day you deserve. Peace.